Have you ever walked away from a perfectly normal 3-minute conversation, maybe a quick chat with a neighbor or a brief check in with your boss, only to spend 3 hours that night, replaying every single second of it in your head? You aren't just remembering what was said, you are rewatching it like a high definition movie. You're pausing on the way their eyes shifted when you mention a specific topic. You're rewinding the moment their tone of voice went slightly flat. You're analyzing the half-second delay before they laughed at your joke. Most people in your life probably tell you that you're just overthinking or that you're being too sensitive. They might even say you're stuck in the past. But here at MindVeilx, we look at the science of the unseen. We know that human behavior only makes sense when you understand the hidden mechanics behind it. The truth is, this isn't a glitch or a symptom of social anxiety. It's actually a sign of a high bandwidth neural filter and a rare psychological process called metacognitive auditing. Your brain refuses to delete that social data because it detects a hidden intention that your conscious mind hasn't fully unmasked yet. While the average person is walking around on a dial up connection, completely oblivious to the world around them, you are operating on a simulation loop designed for survival and protection. Today, we are hitting this topic fast to unmask why your overthinking is actually a rare neural advantage. We're going to break down the mechanics of the simulation loop and show you how to use this data to navigate a world full of social noise. If you've ever felt different because you see more than you should, you aren't alone. You're just a deep thinker in a shallow world. Welcome to the deep dive. The first reason your brain replays these movies is because of your high bandwidth neural filter. Most people have what we call a leaky social filter. They engage in a conversation, their brain processes the surface level words, and once the interaction is over, they delete the file to save energy. They don't care about the micro expressions or the tonal shifts because they are only interested in the social filler, the how are yous and fine thanks that make up 90% of human interaction. But for a rare mind, every conversation is a data gathering mission. Your brain is biologically hungry for truth and depth. When you are in a room, you aren't just listening to words, you are downloading 100% of the sensory data around you. This is what we call the observer's burden. Because your filter is so wide, you catch things that others miss. The subtle tension in someone's jaw, the way they avoided eye contact when you asked a direct question, or the hidden price tag attached to a seemingly kind gesture. The reason you replay the conversation later is that your brain is performing a post-game audit. It's trying to reconcile the words that were spoken with the vibes or the science of the unseen that you picked up during the encounter. If someone said they were happy for you, but their eyes stayed cold, your simulation loop will keep replaying that moment until it figures out the discrepancy. You aren't stuck on the conversation, you are auditing the truth. You realized long ago that once you realize nobody cares, you win. So you use this filter to protect your peace from people who use social masks to hide their real motives. The second gear in your simulation loop is micro-expression auditing. While the movie is replaying in your head, your rare radar is working overtime to spot hidden intentions. You see, words are easy to fake, but the body has a brain glitch where it often leaks the truth through micro-expressions, those split-second movements of the face that happen before the social mask can be put back in place. If you are a deep thinker who sees more than you should, you likely developed this radar as a form of traumatic intelligence. Perhaps you were the black sheep of your family, or you had to grow up too fast in an environment where you had to read the room just to stay safe. This forced your brain to become a walking human lie detector. You learned that the quietest person in the room is often the one who sees the most, and now you apply that same logic to your own life. When you replay that movie at night, you are looking for those cracks in the mask. You might realize that when a friend offered you a gift, their tone had a hint of dominance rather than generosity. Or you might see that a coworker who was too available to help you was actually setting a reciprocity trap. Your brain is rerunning the simulation to see if the vibe check you felt in person matches the data you're processing now. This level of detail is why you might prefer being alone or only keeping a small circle of friends. You'd rather have no company than bad company that forces you to filter out their lies all day. The third reason your brain has this simulation loop is for something we call simulation intelligence. This isn't just about the past, it's about the future. For a rare mind, every past conversation is a training simulation for the next one. You aren't just replaying what did happen, you are running what if scenarios. What if I had said this instead? What if I had walked away silently? What if I had called out their lie right then and there? This is a high level form of metacognitive auditing. You are analyzing your own neural pathways and social strategies to see where you can improve your hyper independent autonomy. You training yourself to spot the 7 things only fake friends do, so that next time you can perform a silent exit before they have a chance to drain you. You're essentially building a psychological shield. Most people view this as a waste of time, but for someone with a polymath advantage or an extremely high IQ, this is how you learn. You have a high learning velocity, and you extract intellectual value from every interaction. Even an awkward encounter becomes a data point that helps you understand the hidden mechanics of human behavior. You realize that the world is full of social noise, and your simulation loop is the only way to filter through the static and find the signal. This is why you might reread your send messages, not because you're insecure, but because you're auditing the data you sent out into the world to ensure it aligns with your sovereign mind. Now, we have to talk about where this loop comes from. It's almost always tied to your origin story. If you were someone who had to grow up too fast, or was the black sheep of your family, your brain developed this simulation loop as a high level survival tool. In a household that was unstable, or where emotions were hidden, you couldn't afford to just listen to words. You had to become a master of the science of the unseen. You had to watch the adults in your life to see if it was safe to speak. You had to analyze the tone of a door closing or the specific way someone set down a glass. This rare radar became a permanent part of your neural architecture. As an adult, this translates into being weirdly calm in a crisis or being the person who chooses to be alone because you've already figured out that most social groups are just performing for each other. Because you raised yourself, you developed a hyper independent autonomy that makes you a cognitive threat to people who rely on social control. You don't need their validation, and you certainly don't need their small talk. But the cost of this intelligence is the simulation loop. Your brain is so used to scanning for danger that it doesn't know how to turn off the audit. You feel secretly drained by guests because your brain is trying to run a high bandwidth simulation on people who are only offering low quality, shallow data. You're trying to find depth where there is only social noise. So, how do we handle this? How do you stop the simulation loop from turning into observers burnout? The goal isn't to stop overthinking. That's impossible for a rare mind. The goal is to move from being a victim of the loop to being the master of it. We call this neural shield mastery. The first habit you need to adopt is the 60-second data dump. Based on science backed habits that help you let go, you need to set a timer after a social interaction. Give yourself exactly 60 seconds to run the simulation. Audit the micro expressions, check the vibes, and identify the hidden intentions. But once that 60 seconds is up, you must delete the file. Tell yourself, the data has been extracted, the audit is complete. This prevents the neural pathway from becoming a permanent loop that drains your battery. The second habit is tactical vulnerability. Your hyper independence is a shield, but it can also become a cage. You need to identify the 1 or 2 real friends who have passed your audit and allow yourself to stop replaying your conversations with them. If you find yourself replaying a chat with someone you actually trust, remind your brain that they are a safe signal. This lowers the social noise in your head and allows you to focus your energy on your own unfinished projects or internal creative laboratory. Finally, embrace your selective excellence. Stop trying to fit in with people who force you to run the simulation loop on high alert. If a certain person or environment always leaves you replaying the movie for hours, that is your rare radar telling you to perform a silent exit. You don't need to explain yourself, you just need to protect your peace. When you realize that your silence is your greatest strength, the simulation loop stops being a burden and starts being your guide. If you recognized your own simulation loop today, I want you to take a deep breath and realize that you aren't broken. You aren't socially anxious in the way the world thinks you are. You are simply a high frequency receiver in a world full of static. Your brain replays those conversations because it values truth, depth, and autonomy, traits that are incredibly rare in 2026. You see the science of the unseen, and while that can be exhausting, it is also what makes you impossible to manipulate. You have a rare radar that others would kill for, and your simulation loop is simply the way your brain processes the data of the world. Stop apologizing for being a deep thinker. Stop trying to lower your standards for connection just to quiet the noise. But I have to ask, what was the last conversation that your brain refused to delete? Was it a kind gesture with a hidden price tag, or the moment you realized someone's social mask was slipping? Tell your story in the comments below. I read as many as I can because your experiences are what make MindVeilx a home for the rare minds. If this video helped you unmask why you overthink, hit that like button and subscribe. We're going to keep diving into the hidden mechanics of your mind, your history, and your potential. Until next time, remember, silence isn't empty, it's full of data. Protect your peace